Hello, this is Gio, and this is my wife's old HP laptop computer. And something just happened the other day. One of the keys, the escape key here, kind of popped out, and my wife asked me to replace it. So I figured I'd take this opportunity to show you how you could replace some of these keys. Sometimes the laptop keyboard configurations can be somewhat different, but quite commonly they're structured very similar to this. Here, let me zoom in here. You can kind of see where it came from. There's a couple of, let me get a pointer to show you better. Okay, so here we are, a little close up. Here's the key, and you can see on the back side it has these little kind of tabs. If I can focus in, can I focus in? There we go. You can see how it looks on the back. And on the bottom here, you can see this little hook here, this little button here, which kind of controls the actual key. And then there's a little hook here and a little hook here. But a couple of things also popped out when this thing came out. So along with the little escape key button here, these two little plastic bracket pieces came out, and these were actually underneath the key here, and were connected to these little hook arms right here. And looking at them really closely, they do kind of come together. And the first step is to know which direction they go back in. And if you look closely on the largest one, you'll kind of see it's flat. It's kind of dirty on that side, but it's flat on one side, on the top, and there's this little bump. If I could kind of zoom in here, see if I can show you this. There's a little bump on the bottom on both sides of the arm. Well, this little bump here goes on the bottom, so it actually, the flat part goes on top, and the irregular area where there's a bump goes on the bottom. So that's for the larger one. Now for the smaller one, it's kind of similar. You kind of look at this larger piece here. Let me just point to it here. So there's this little smaller hook arm there, and then a larger one there. And if you look at the larger one, it's very hard to do this with tiny little. It's very tiny. It looks like it's kind of flatter on one side, and there's a little kind of lip on the other side. Well, the lip is the bottom part, and so it goes like that. Okay, and the way these go in is I usually put in the smaller piece first, and moving up to here, you get this big hook right there. Let me get my screwdriver back. Here's the big hook, and here's two smaller hooks, 1 and 2. And what you do with the smaller plastic piece is making sure that it's correctly positioned. You put this in right over the larger hook. Just like that. And you kind of lay it right over the button. Now some people actually, here, let me back up a ways. These two pieces actually go together. They actually kind of clip on together. And you could see there's a little divot here and a divot here. Well, those go into little holes on either side. And they actually, if you push them together, they actually snap together. And some people actually put these together first and then attach it in here, but in order to do that you actually have to stretch some of the plastic, and I don't like doing that. It's a little bit, you have to have a little more coordination to put them on separately, but I kind of like that just so I don't break these things. So I first just kind of put these in place like that and let it not pop out. Kind of wants to stick up there. So that's the first one. Now the second one, the larger one, if I could show you this, again you want the smooth part on top, so that would be the top, and you see these two little kind of like hinge points. Well, those hinge points go right here, and so you kind of just oops. Let me reverse that. Actually, there's these two hinge points. So there's two hinge points on that side, and then two hinge points on that side. I apologize, I got this on the wrong side. So you kind of stick that so they fit in right there. And so leaving it like that, you kind of have these two. You have the smaller one on the bottom and the larger one on top, just like that. And then very carefully, you try to press them in. And I'm doing this with one hand, so it's a little bit. And if you press them in together, they should snap. Okay, so I did get a helper to hold the camera, so I can do this with two hands. So I kind of hold this together, and I want to make sure that those little nibs are connected together on both sides. So I push down, and then it should be connected. And you could see it is connected. There's a little hinge point on both sides, and so they kind of bob up and down. So with these connected, you could kind of see this little spring motion going on here, and then the little button in the middle kind of moves in the center. And so the next thing you want to do is just take your little your button plate itself, and you could see there's two little connecting points there and one on this side, and those kind of correspond. Let me move this. You see this little hinge point there and this little hinge point there. Well, those will connect into this one and that one. And then there's a little hinge point right there, and that will connect into that one. And so what you want to do next is just try to get the button somewhat centered on top of it. You can't really see what's going on, but try to get it centered and just kind of depress it until you hear a snap. And once you hear that snap, then everything's good. And if it's going up and down and it doesn't fall off, you're pretty good to go. So there you have it. That's kind of how you install one of these buttons back. So if you do have a laptop that has had its keyboard pieces kind of fall out, well, now you know how to do it. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.